Good morning and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Dr. James.
I'm Ava Goodman.
My Indian name is Tuk-Tud. Tuk-Tud. Tuk-Tud.
And my Indian name is Napis.
Now, we would like to concentrate on a specific topic regarding ShelterBay for the people of ShelterBay, the people of Swinomish, and the people of the Connor. And we'll use metaphors. And this particular metaphor is about ShelterBay and Swinomish as an amusement park, okay? And all of the different issues that are complicated are like rides on the park, okay? And this particular ride, the roller coaster ride, it's been a roller coaster ride. And the roller coaster is home value. Home value as in for the people who live in ShelterBay, who own homes, how much will people pay for a home in ShelterBay? I mean, because home values go up and down, like a roller coaster. And in order to understand this particular roller coaster, there are some historical facts that we're going to go over, and we'll have to explain why the roller coaster is going up or the roller coaster is going down, and we can use that information to identify where we're at on the ride, where is the roller coaster, and although you can't predict the future, I mean, you can. However,
how it plays out is something.
How it actually goes down, there are some things that will influence what exactly is going to happen. And that's why we're talking about it and concentrating on it, because there's a lot of unrest in ShelterBay. I mean, it is like an amusement park. There's a lot of things that are difficult and scary, and people agree, people don't disagree. And it's time for us to talk to you about this, because people wonder why ShelterBay has hired consultants and pays them money. And it's in the paper. ShelterBay pays consultants $10,000 a month, right? And I'll tell you, it's us. We're the consultants, okay? Why would you pay Dr. James $10,000 a month? And you don't. No. You pay Dr. James and Ava Goodman $10,000 a month. And that doesn't make sense to some people. Why would you do that? Is that a good decision? How could that be a good decision? And we'll tell you right now, describing the roller coaster of home value in ShelterBay and how scary it is. And why somebody would be motivated because they asked us and we said no, and then they asked us and we said no, and then they said, well, we really need you. And we're like, okay, well, I'm a doctor, so I get paid. And I understand how difficult this job is. And I feel like I'm selling ice. I'm selling ice to people who have ice. Not only do they have ice, I mean, they live in like a world of ice, okay? And it's cold. And they don't see a need for the ice. But here I am, selling ice. And I better be good at it, right? I mean, how much ice have I sold? I mean, people want to know. So let's start the roller coaster ride. We could pick, any, we could start somewhere back before there was ever a concern that they needed an ice salesman. Like an amusement park ride, maybe it's like Splash Mountain, right? You get on Splash Mountain and it's like this lazy river. Everything's beautiful. Oh, isn't this awesome? It's like a small world, except not that annoying. It's beautiful. It's entertaining. It's not scary at all. I love it here, man. This is awesome. This is a great ride. My home values are just going up, man. Going up. And I don't know, 2003, because the rent adjusts every 10 years. So about 2003 somewhere. The developer, the person who built this amusement park, goes, you know what? Now would be a good time to sell. Everybody's happy. Everybody wants to be here. It's great. So he sold it. They bought it. ShelterBay bought it. And then in 2003, the rent's going to be adjusted like it does, like it always has, according to the Master Lease. And the people at ShelterBay went, well, that's too much. It's impossible. We should not have to pay this much. I mean, the tribe offered $10 million for a aggregate raw land value assessment, and ShelterBay. I mean, that was a bump in the ride, man. I mean, that was like the first one where your stomach comes up into your throat, and you're like, I don't know if I like this ride. This might not be the ride I should be on. So they wanted to take it to court. You can't go to court. You can't. I mean, the Master Lease outlines what happens when people don't agree, and it goes to arbitration. And so they went to arbitration, and ShelterBay spent
$600,000.
$600,000 for arbitration because the $10 million was just not right, and there's no way it could be that high. And after the arbitration, they lost.
They lost, and because the raw land value, what came in at nearly double what the tribe had asked for.
Yeah, the tribe was like, hey, you dummies, should have taken the $10 million. I mean, man, those people at ShelterBay, from the tribal perspective, people are laughing about it, right? I mean, we tried to help you guys out, but you just decided you were going to be mean to us. So now look what happened to you, right? So I moved here in 2007, and at that point, there were 3 homes for sale in the LaConner School District. 3. I had to buy a house that wasn't even finished. I mean, I bought a house. It was being built by Steve Swaggart. And Steve is an interesting guy. I mean, he's an awesome builder. He makes some good homes. I mean, all Steve Swaggart ever did was add homes to the tax roll for Swinomish, millions of dollars. And all he did was make money, Steve. He is an awesome builder, but he is also a little bit like that one dude, like, get her done, I mean, he's a little bit of a trickster, Everybody's like, what's Steve doing, right? But he's a great guy and has done a lot of wonderful things for ShelterBay, and has been vilified. For what? Really? But let's get back to the topic on this roller coaster ride. About the 2013. So at 2007, not only when I showed up and a month later I was assessed $5,000 to pay back the arbitration adjustment. That's what over $5,000. That's my portion of what happened. I mean, 870 homes in ShelterBay. I mean, where's my calculator? Hold on, I'm gonna get my calculator. Okay, 870, and it's probably not even accurate, but I just want to give you a little perspective on how much things cost. 5,000 times 870 is $4,350,000. Okay. Oh. And then nobody even remembers the 2013 rent adjustment. Do you know why? Well, on this roller coaster ride that we're on, home values, 2007 when I purchased, we were way up here. And then home values crashed. It was a housing market crash. And then down. I mean, I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I owed hundreds of thousands of dollars more for my house that I could sell it for. I mean, there's a reason I commuted 5 hours to work, because I couldn't sell my house. I was stuck, but I didn't want to go anywhere anyway. But nobody was complaining about the rent adjustment in 2013 when home values went boom. You know what they're complaining about? The master lease. We need a new master lease, right? Because it's projected, if you sign a master lease, then home values will go up. And in 2015, with all the work that was done by ShelterBay and Swinomish, got a little fed up, and we've been talking about a new master lease for decades. I mean, 20 years?
Yeah, well, one of the issues there is that it's a revolving door of volunteers in ShelterBay.
Well, let me talk about that.
Okay.
Now, on this roller coaster ride, not everybody is aware of it even. I mean, most of the time. I mean, like right now, with all of the unrest in ShelterBay, people are not complaining about home values because they're all right. People are maybe concerned, but all of the good people who volunteer to be on the ShelterBay board, they get sick of it too. They can't get anywhere. And it's scary. So I'll tell you how scary it is. I'll tell you about the scary part. Now, after the 2015 best and final offer, 7% of improved land value, was a really good deal. I mean, masterful in its crafting. It gave a time period of 8 years before the rent would go up, but then it would go up like a roller coaster, ka-chink, 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 by a small increment of like 0.1 a year, 0.1. Anyway, small incremental change, but persistent pressure. I mean, you can break somebody's nose by just applying a little more pressure continuously until it breaks, you know. That's how you, that's how civil engineers, when they're studying, like Will, he used to have to build a bridge, and the bridge had to hold so much weight, right? Weight given certain factors. So the question that ShelterBay had at the time was, this best and final offer, will it work for ShelterBay? Is it a good idea for ShelterBay to sign the best and final offer for the master lease? And what would happen if we don't sign it? And so they got P&W Northwest, the economic firm, to evaluate the best and final offer, and paid
somewhere around $250,000.
paid $250,000, $250,000 to P&W Northwest to say, is this a good deal? What's going to happen? Predict what will happen on this roller coaster ride 2007, 2013, up to 2023, we were climbing. Rent went up double because value went up double. The price of your home went up. Nobody's complaining about having a house that's worth more money. And what P&W Northwest predicted, and I'm paraphrasing here, but somewhere in the future, if there's no lease signed, somewhere in the future, somewhere about 2023 or so, depending on certain factors, and we have to guess what those factors will be. But at some point, the roller coaster that's going up will level off, and then, woo, I call that part of the ride the death spiral. So, what does that mean to you? Well, the average home sale price in ShelterBay, the home value price, average price for the 870 homes, last time the number, you just got to throw a number at it, and it was approximately $420,000 times 870. So $420,000 average price, average value of the improvement, the homes in ShelterBay. Let's say that's $420,000. Sounds reasonable. I mean, some of the homes are worth $1 million, some are worth less than $1 million. But if you multiply that times that average times the number of homes, and 870 homes, and you get $365,400,000. I mean, how much is ShelterBay even worth? I would say it's worth about $500 million. $500 million. And on the death spiral, I mean, because we're where we are on this roller coaster of home value is, as predicted by the economic firm, ShelterBay paid, you guys paid, we paid, I paid, we all paid $250,000 for this information. Don't you think that would be valuable information? It's not coming from me. I'm just reading back on the reports, and when we took the job here, we had to go back and learn about what had been done. And one of the advisors from Swinomish, in an email to ShelterBay regarding the best and final offer, the advice was, sign it. Home values will go up. If you can't afford it, sell. Somebody's going to pay for it. They'll pay for it. Somebody will pay for it. Somebody will always pay to live on the waterfront. People will pay lots of money for that. I just go to Pull Me Damned. Where are the homes? All on the waterfront. It's a bad deal. However, when they go in their house and look at it on the beach, they're like, for this view, it's a good deal. Right? But nobody wants to live up, can't afford to live up where the lots are available for building. Nobody builds on them. So the P&W Northwest, in their evaluation of the best and final offer, was that home values would go up, just like the appraiser said they would. And they'll go up for a while. There's 8 years where the rent doesn't go up. So, hey, that's gravy, man. They're still going up. Up on the roller coaster ride. But at some point in the future, estimated about 5.1% of improved land value, death spiral. The same death spiral that happens when a master lease, if there's no new deal, right? It's not survivable. I mean, it's a scary ride. Not everybody lives when they get on a roller coaster ride. I've seen videos of where it didn't go so well, And people can do dumb things. You ever hear about that guy who was at an amusement park and his hat fell off? And fell to where the roller coaster, there's like fences, danger, don't go here. But that's where his hat was. And he liked his hat. hat looked good on him. Everybody, he wanted his hat. So he went, climbed the fence, he got over to get his hat, and then roller coaster hit him and he lost his head. He gave his life for a hat. So where we are in the roller coaster, people, and why anybody in ShelterBay would consider paying us $10,000, which actually, if you cost spread that over 870 homes, is about $11.49. And that's not for me, that's for me and Ava. I mean, she's the one who's the finisher. I'm just selling ice, right? I mean, she wrote, you want to see a contract? Read our contract that we have with ShelterBay and go, who would sign this contract? Well, you know who wrote that contract? Ava did. Okay? That's the person you want on your side, right? And so when ShelterBay goes, well, yeah, that's too much money. And I said, well, okay, but who else is there? I mean, because who else knows what's going on at Swinomish? You know? I mean, people don't know. You don't know.
Or even the people in ShelterBay, because we're working with an entirely new board. And that was an issue from the beginning. But now we are the senior members of the ShelterBay Lease team.
Now, let me give you a little bit of history about what happened in 2019. Okay, on a different roller coaster ride, one you can't see. It's like the water park area. You know, if you go to Silverwood, there's the roller coaster area and there's the water park area, and you can't see what's at the back of the water park area unless you've been there, unless you're familiar with the water park. You don't know about the water park. Okay, I mean, there's some things you know about it, but really, I mean, even if you think you know, I'm gonna tell you now, you don't know what's going on at Swinomish, right? We're your Indian guys on that gig. And what I will say is that Swinomish, you know, you walk in two worlds as an Indian. You walk in the popular world and then you walk in the Indian world. And they're completely different. And to the point where people at ShelterBay don't understand. They don't understand the Indians, and you know, some of the Indians don't understand the people in ShelterBay, and that's why we're like in the middle. It's like that song. It's like we're at this point we are stuck in the middle with you on this roller coaster ride. And in 2019, Ava and I, in fact, I told my neighbor who was on the board of ShelterBay at the time, I was like, you know, I mean, it's 2019. The best of final was 2015. I didn't know that at the time, but I did know that negotiations were essentially non-existent. I mean, you know, ShelterBay can ask for meetings all they want. They can never get a meeting. And Swinomish is of the opinion, still today, that ShelterBay is going to pay. We just wait. We own the land. We own the jurisdiction. They don't have to recognize that until they get comfortable with recognizing that, and then they will pay. People will pay, even if the people who are living in ShelterBay right now don't pay, somebody will. And we only got this one ShelterBay, so we got no reason to do anything different from what we're doing. I mean, ShelterBay has proven they don't know what they're doing from the negotiation. When we offered them $10 million and they ended up with 19 after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, and we got lawyers. We'll just wait it out, see what happens. I mean, we don't own the homes in ShelterBay. It's not our money. So I was talking with my neighbor and I said, you know what? ShelterBay has a vested interest in the representative government of Swinomish and should find a way to to become active and support people at Swinomish who were running for office. And he just looked at me, but I could tell that he was thinking about it. And at that time, in that election in 2009, no, was it 2019? 2000. Anyway, was it 2020? Anyway, Brian Clattisby was up for re-election, and people at ShelterBay may know that name. There was a point in time when Brian Clattisby was the tribal chairman of Swinomish for like 25 years, and he was the most accomplished and popular politician Swinomish has ever had. That's my words. He did a lot of really great things. And it was inconceivable to people not at Swinomish who didn't know what was going on in the water park at Swinomish. It was inconceivable that Brian Clattisby could at all lose an election at Swinomish. I mean, he was the chairman of the National Congress of American Indians, the National Congress of American Indians of all. He was like the head Indian for the whole nation. The whole nation. Twice. I mean, the only reason he's not, he termed out. I mean, he termed out like presidents do. It was inconceivable. However, we understood that people weren't being heard anymore. People didn't feel represented by, they had to make a choice who they want to be represented by. Could we continue to go down this road where Brian Clattisby is in charge of everything and doing a great job for the most part? There was a couple of things that people had concerns about, and realized that in order for them to address those concerns, there would need to be more people involved in the decision-making process. So somebody was running against Brian Clattisby, and that was Alana Quintasket. Wonderful person, intelligent, young. I mean, she didn't have any experience as a tribal senator, and was like 26 years old. Mm-hmm. Fresh out, bright, smart. But nobody gave her a shot. Nobody in LaConner, nobody in ShelterBay. I mean, she's not going to beat Brian Clattisby. And we said, you know what? If you look at the water park at Swinomish and what's going on at Swinomish, Atlanta's got a shot, right? People want to be heard. People want their voices to be heard. They want to feel represented well, and that they will be heard and represented in their governmental process, no matter who's in office. Could be Brian Clattisby. And I'm selling the ice, right? But I'm not the finisher on this gig, right? I mean, that's Ava. Ava, not me. Ava talked to some people. Talked to, there was this Facebook group that was formed. It was called Swinomish Ladies. Swinomish has a ladies club history. And the Swinomish ladies, if you're on the water park over there, it's a matriarchal society culturally. The power of the people, a lot of grandmothers have a lot of power. Not influence. I mean, power as in what grandma thinks matters. right? And when the grandmothers and the granddaughters and the daughters of Swinomish decided that they would like to see Alana Quatasket elected, didn't matter who she was running against. And Brian Clattersby lost the election 2-1, a landslide. I mean, nobody outside of Swinomish knew what the hell happened. What? Brian Clattersby did not get elected? How did that happen? And you know, Steve Swigert comes, what happened? And I go, well, I told you. All you got to do is know a few things, right? You got to know what's going on over there. You got to know what's going on over here. You got to go back into history and see what's happened. Then you can kind of get a sense of where you are and what is about to happen based on what has happened and what's been done before, right? So the most important issue in ShelterBay this Thanksgiving is, how much is your house worth today? How much was it worth yesterday? And how much is it going to be worth tomorrow? Now, from PNW Northwest, we're on this roller coaster ride, and the roller coaster ride has been going up. It's been going up. You know, and you get hit the roller coaster and it goes chink, 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 and then at some point you get to the top and it's like, what's coming next, right? What's going to happen to home values in ShelterBay? Well, PNW Northwest said, not me. I just read the report that, I'm going to call this portion of the roller coaster the death spiral. Home values are going to go down 400, 300, 200, 100, who knows? And that is scary. And the people who paid $250,000 of it at the PNW Northwest, they're getting a little concerned in 2019. The death spiral's coming, and we get nothing. We got no plan. Swinomish said best and final, that's it. They'll talk to us, but they have not had any indication, and they are being advised that they don't have to do anything but just watch it happen. They got their popcorn and they're watching. Well, ShelterBay is going to pay us. And that's when Steve talked to me. He said, what happened at Swinomish? I told him, hey, we saw it happening. We saw it going down. The Swinomish ladies decided that Alana Quatasket should be on the Senate. And they made it happen. It was obvious. We knew it was going to happen. We saw it. We predicted it. You know, I told ShelterBay they should get smart. We'll just say get smart, right? And then Steve says, well, maybe you could help us. And I said, well, I don't know, Steve. But then you got to understand that there are people who know things at Swinomish. Most of those people are either senators or working for the Swinomish tribe. And the Swinomish tribe, I mean, I ran against Brian Clattersby in 2010. And people told me that because I did that, I couldn't work at Swinomish. I would never get a job there. Which is true. And actually, in the filming of this, I'm affecting my ability to get a job at Swinomish. And I want to be the doctor there, but I can't because of things like this. I just can't be controlled. I have my integrity, and as long as I walk my talk, as long as I do the things that an Indian does, I feel good about myself. I take care of my spirit, right? And it's worth more to me than any job. However, there are people that need to survive, and they're willing to keep their mouths closed. And that Swinomish is like that. It's almost like the first rule at Swinomish is don't talk about Swinomish. It's like that movie Fight Club. Don't talk about it. Don't put it on social media. I mean, some people dabble, but you pay a price. And we understood that coming to work for ShelterBay. We've been called Team ShelterBay. And that's insulting, hurtful to me because I love Swinomish and I'm a Swinomish tribal member. And I would never betray the Swinomish tribe, not even for ShelterBay, not even for $10,000 a month. I wouldn't do it. And we can only advise people of ShelterBay. And, you know, we're in that situation where we've told them things. We're like Rainbow Park. You know what? There's no end to the jurisdictional issue without representation. Don't pay that because there's no end to what Swinomish can consider doing with the jurisdiction they have, especially when the people of ShelterBay have no way to be represented in the jurisdiction at this point. So that was another thing we said is ShelterBay in this negotiation should request to be put on committees in ShelterBay, that they should select people from ShelterBay to represent them on the Senate subcommittees at Swinomish, because it matters. This is the Indian reservation. This is in the jurisdiction of the Indian reservation, and ShelterBay should have a voice to be represented in the tribal governmental structure. Otherwise, they just take it like they did in Rainbow Park. But Rainbow Park is like a small ride. You know, that's like $100 ride. But I explained it to the board like this. On this death spiral, once you get on the death spiral and property values drop by hundreds of thousands of dollars, if Ava and I can help you restrict the death spiral so that it has so instead of a straight down into the ground and, you know, people get hurt, so that the death spiral comes up, right? And again, the roller coaster continues, because if the death spiral occurs and is allowed to occur, the park closes. It's called a death spiral for a reason. The park closes, and ShelterBay is at stake. But the problem we have now, I mean, we thought when we came on board, the death spiral would take about...
Figured about 10 years.
Right, but now we got people on the roller coaster who are pushing it over the edge, over things that seem insignificant. I mean, things are not good. And people are trying to push us when we're right, and Abe and I are in the front seat, and we're going, hey, there's still a chance. we're hitting the spiral. And maybe, and that's when we went to Swinomish. We had a meeting with them, 2.5 hours. It was simple. It's like, you guys, ShelterBay is losing it. ShelterBay is suing each other over things that aren't important. What do we mean by important is the fact that the value of your house should be the most important concern right now. right? I mean, you're about ready to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, who wants to buy in ShelterBay now? Once that who wants to buy becomes like not very many people and everybody wants to sell a home, supply and demand, and then you calculate how much a home is worth based on what other homes are selling for, and people are willing to sell for less, you know? Kaboom, you know, death spiral. But if we can pull it off and save you that from the 420 to, if we can get it and keep it at 420, we'd be like, that would be a miracle at this point. You know, I mean, we are concerned that, and you got to look around other than outside of ShelterBay, but mortgage interest rates have gone up, housing market, home sales have gone down, and
although assessments, the average assessment, property assessment in Skagit County is up 38% from what it was last year.
Yeah.
So this isn't something that's just felt by ShelterBay. I mean, you don't pay property taxes here. So instead you pay a lease payment. And right now the lease payment is much less.
Yeah, it's that actually with the mortgage interest rates at 7%, the 7% of improved land value looks a lot better than it did, and if we can shorten the time it takes to get a master lease, a new deal, one that can be accepted by both parties. On the death spiral, when we're going like this, I mean, like Brian Calatisby had a precipitous drop. His was in the water park. It was like the one where you climb up the stairs and then get in a tube and come straight down. I mean, when he didn't get reelected, he was finished being the chairman. That was a one-directional ride, you know, and a wonderful ride. And I thank Brian Calatisby for the work he's done. However, you know, I'm just trying to make a metaphor here. So if we can save you $100,000 instead of your home that's 420 being worth, well, if we would have signed the deal previously, we wouldn't be talking about it. But at some point, when things start going down, the difference of a few months can be a lot of money. It could be $100,000 for every home in ShelterBay. And $100,000 times 870 homes is $87 million. And you're paying us $11.49 a month. Even if there's a chance we could help you, are you willing to pay us $11.49 a month to help you out, to do something that you don't know how to do? Well, you don't know anything over there. Maybe you know a little bit. And we're trying to, and the Swinomish, you know, is still, the Office of Tribal Attorney, the advisor, talked to the staff at ShelterBay yesterday and said, well, how's it really going over there? You know, because Dr. James and Ava says it's not going good. Do we really have to be worried? And it was like, oh yeah, things are not good in ShelterBay. People, I mean, get your popcorn. I mean, you read it in the newspaper. I mean, it's like the LaConner Weekly News has become the National Enquirer, where Bill Reynolds, and I love Bill Reynolds, great, wonderful, said, he's such a nice guy. He said that in the meeting, there was somebody saying loudly, or anyway, a bovine excrement, you know? I mean, what is bovine? I mean, you want to go to a town hall meeting and have somebody like screaming bovine excrement, and then you know that one of the board members sets up a table outside the meeting, to have petitions signed, to have other board members recalled.
And that's all to lower the HOA. And the ShelterBay, the board is not responsible for the amounts. We're responsible, each individual homeowner in ShelterBay is responsible to cough up a supplemental rent to meet the master lease, because the individual leases collectively do not meet the requirements of the master lease, which is why the Osbergs sold it to ShelterBay in the first place and the HOA was formed.
Yeah, if you are only concerned about other rides in the park, right? You're concerned about how much you have to pay every month to ShelterBay. I get it. That's hundreds of dollars. There's other ride that we're talking about with the death spiral. You lose the value of your home, hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're missing maybe you should be concerned about what your home is worth. And maybe Ava and I mean, I'm worth $5, she's worth $5. Are we worth $5 a month for hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions? $87 million. I mean, it's put it into perspective. And what the people who are trying to take over, what's their plan? Their plan is they're smart. They're the only ones that can save it,
And we've watched that rotating door for 2 years now of the ShelterBay board.
Well, I think people get fed up and leave and sell. And my advice to the people I care about, when they ask me is, well, you have to decide if you love ShelterBay and you want to live here and this is where you want to be. And if you're like 85, you're not going to see 2044. So why does it matter if you love your home? Unless you have to, our neighbor sold because the value of their home they were using to pay for the end of their life, to pay for the cost of assisted living, and they go, we can't take the chance. We need to be able to take care of ourselves. So they sold the home before the death spiral. And the only way the death spiral doesn't occur to destroy ShelterBay, as predicted by PNW Northwest, where ShelterBay goes away and this becomes more like Pull and Be Damned, and people lose the value of their homes, and it's a financial nightmare for people, some worse than others, is if there's a new master lease. And we were hired to help, and our lawyer, he was like, wow, that's quite a roller coaster ride. I guess that's not mutually assured destruction.
Mutually assured destruction. The path that the two entities are on right now.
And then he looked at our contract and he goes, well, that's not bad money for trying. Because in order for the ride to continue, forget about how much you have to pay this month. In order for the ride to continue, there needs to be a new lease, and there will be new leases. It's just like the only question is, will ShelterBay come together? Because the best thing ShelterBay has going for it at this point are the people, and if all the people come together and work together cooperatively, then we got a chance. And that's why I'm talking to you. I'm selling you the ice, right? Even though, you live in an igloo. You know, this is like Jurassic Park. And I feel like Jeff Goldblum saying, you need to get together, because if you don't get together, then death spiral. Yeah. You don't have to believe me. I hope some people will listen to this. I hope enough people listen to this and consider it. And then stop bickering in the paper, suing people. I'm going to be fine. But I'm concerned about people of Swinomish, the people of ShelterBay, and the people of the Connor, that if the death spiral happens and ShelterBay is destroyed by it, people are going to get hurt. And it's time to come together. Thank you.